All right, folks, welcome to another What's Your Story. It is so excited to finally have him on. I just can't juggle my schedule to make things like this happen sooner. But Comic Relief Crusader, Mike is in the house. Brother, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's all good, man. Awesome to be here again.
Congratulations on reading that milestone, that 1,000 subs, and just kind of growing the channel and finding your voice, man. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, thanks, man. Whew, it's how do I put it? Kind of surreal in a way, after 2 years and 8 months
Hmm.
of doing this, and you get the feeling that, oh my God, it's never gonna happen. It's taking so long, and yeah, and then next thing you know, it's like, boom, there you are. It's like, oh wow, okay, that happened. So
What is it that kind of got you to even want to do this? Like, what was the bug for you that said, you know what, I'm just going to do
hmm.
this YouTube thing?
um yeah, it's a pretty interesting question because um I don't know, it's been probably a couple of things. I just have this love for media, and being a graphic designer, I'm just fascinated with pretty much everything media. um you know it's it's a very interesting journey. It's kind of like this. I've always been fascinated, I suppose, with movies and TV, and just how they do this on set, how they do that on set. And um and I think it goes way back to probably the 80s, where I lived in New Brunswick, small little town, about 20 minutes away from the main border, called St. Andrews by the Sea. And, which is a nice little town that's about, yeah, 20 minutes from the main border. And of course, there's always been a heavy influence of American media, whether on the radio or on TV, right? Back in the days when you only got like maybe three or four channels. So, and a lot of my days, like, I didn't watch a lot of TV per se. Like, I wasn't like plonked in front of the TV and just sat there for hours on end, but a lot of it actually had to do with the radio. And listening to Casey Kasem and American Top 40 Countdown and stuff like that, right? And Paul Harvey, and and those kind of personalities on the radio. And um it just fascinated me how people can communicate their personality through radio, but you never really see them, right? And you kind of form this kind of picture in your head of what the person looks like, based on their personality on the radio and stuff like that. And it kind of stuck with me, right? And I also wanted to get into comics and draw comics, and that was another big thing, media related. And so many years passed, and it was time to go to college. And I had to pick two electives. So my first one was graphic design, and the second one that I picked was radio broadcasting. And I had an audition in Woodstock, New Brunswick, at the New Brunswick Community College for radio broadcasting. And so I went, and the program head, the program director, just gave me a sheet of paper, and on it, you had three things that you could choose from, but one of them was kind of pretty interesting. It was like the second one, and talk about any topic that is prevalent in the news today. And that's kind of interesting, because I remember watching something on television, um, that happened. I think it was like somewhere around the mid '90s, where this guy in California that was drunk managed to hop into a tank and basically take it on a joyride. And, unfortunately for the guy, police shot him. But I chose that topic to talk on the radio, and I only had 15 minutes, um, for this audition, and it was live. It was live on the radio, right? And I thought, they're just going to record it or something like that. But no, it was live on the radio. And and I just went at it, right, with this topic. What kind of day and age do we live in where a drunk guy can just seize control of a tank and go on a joyride and running over trucks and cars and knocking over light posts and stuff like that. And this went on for about 15 minutes, right? And at the end of 50 minutes, I hear on the window behind me, just right, this knock, and the on-air light went off, and I looked behind me, and there was the programming director behind me, and I thought, oh no, I'm in trouble, right? So took the headphones off, put it down, went out the door, and she looked at me with this concerned look on her face, and she was like, Mike, do you know what a shock jock is? And like, I'd never heard the term before in my life, right? And I'm like, no. She goes, well, let me put it to you this way. Do you know where Howard Stern or Rush Limbaugh is? And I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, those guys. Yeah, I know who they are. And she said, you would be perfect for this course. I need you in this course. She goes, what's your first elective? And I said, well, graphic design. And she goes, I will do anything to get you in this course. You are like the perfect personality for this course. I can see you actually going pretty far. And well, ultimately I didn't get in and got into graphic design. So, fast forward a few more years, I'm a graphic designer, and I did some prototype work for Hasbro. I'm doing my own thing, with being a freelancer. And and it was around this age, say around maybe 2000 2005. I'm listening to a lot of alternative media, not mainstream media. And so you run into a lot of people again, like Rush Limbaugh and what's that guy in the Blaze?
Oh, Glenn Beck.
Uh, yeah, Glenn Beck, and Alex Jones, and stuff like that. And you're listening, and these guys again had personality, right? At first, you didn't really know what they looked like. You're just hearing the voice, and there's a lot of personality behind that voice. And so, they're talking about stuff, and you kind of find out that you know, some of the stuff that they're saying has a lot of validity to it. And so, for quite a few years I was thinking, it'd be pretty cool if I started talking about, some of this stuff. But then again, I'm not really a political kind of guy, so to speak, to be commenting on what goes on here in Canada in Parliament or down in the States or anything like that, right? I don't have that big political know-how. I just know what's wrong with the country, and that's about it, really. But over the years, during that, I'm noticing a lot of things going on in TV, in commercials and stuff like that. How they're making men look like basically the buffoons. And it starts in commercials, and then it slowly progresses. And you get back on YouTube, start watching a bunch of videos. I think I think Critical Drinker was one. Heels versus Babyface. Then you run into Doomcock, and then you run into other people that happen to be, like, for instance, on Doomcock's show, like Clobbering Times. Mike, with Clobbering Times, and so it reignites a passion for comics again, right? Like back to when I was younger, and so my daughter, our youngest daughter, comes up to me, and I just happened to be watching a Doomcock video, and she's like, "Who's that guy with the helmet on his head?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is basically, a guy that's pretending he's the super villain that's fighting against everything that's, you know, woke." And I know that's an overused word, but what's going on in Hollywood and Disney and stuff like that. And by their metric, he would be the supervillain. So that's why he looks like the way he is. And she was like, "Well, you're kind of a geek. You're kind of a nerd. Uh, you know, you like movies and comic books and stuff like that. Why didn't you do the same thing?" It's like, well, if I
Hmm.
did that, you know, I just have to kind of come up with a kind of a cool name, a catchy name. And so she said, "Well, you like comics, and you want to kind of bring a type of relief to to what's going on in entertainment, because you like this stuff. And this is about, when she's about 11, 12 years old at the time. She's a smart cookie. And why did you just make it your crusade?" And she said, "Well, why don't you just then call yourself the Comic Relief Crusader?" And I'm like, and there was just something about it. Yeah,
Out of the
there was
mouth of
something
babes,
about it.
right? Out of the mouth of babes. Your
Exactly.
daughter is the one that names you, man. That's great. That's great.
Yep. And
Yeah.
and I looked at her, I'm like, "Oh my god, that's brilliant."
Yeah.
So I said, can I use that? Can I use that?" "Yeah, you can use it. You can go ahead and use it." I'm like, "Perfect." Right? And that just kind of solidified it right there. It's like, okay, fine. If I do want to talk about stuff on YouTube and talk about the stuff that I enjoy, like many of us do, that's the name I went with, the Comic Relief Crusader. And that's how it started. And I think the first video that I talked about was um when they were making Why the Last Man, making a TV adaptation to it. And because I read that comic when that came out, through DC like years ago, and it was a great story. It was a fantastic story, right? And reading the article about it, it's like, they're doing this to it. And so that was the first media, the first, yeah, piece of media that I made, the first video that I made. So,
When I met you,
and
you were still trying to find
it
that
just grew up from
iteration of
there.
your voice, though, right? You were still trying to figure
Yeah.
out, like, am I doing short videos, long videos? You were kind of dabbling with the show. You were still. How has that process evolved for you? What was that like on that journey? I think there's a lot of people who are like, I still don't know exactly what I want to do or how to do it. Talk a little bit about that process for you.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing, right? Because I'd watched a few people, and then later on, I run into Loki, and his channel, and he did a lot of, was it like Wednesday YouTube talks and stuff like that. And so I started to listen to that very carefully, because here's a guy that's like over 2,000 subs and stuff like that. It's like, oh, he must know what he's talking about. so so I started listening to him, and I was still trying to figure out, what is, I suppose you could say, the perfect length of video that you want to make if you're just doing a video. And because I know more than likely I got to look back because it's been so long. But how long should I probably make a video? How long should it be till people kind of tune out? And 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 then later on, starting to get into doing some live videos. And I got to tell you, for anybody starting out, yes, you're gonna be nervous, and that's okay, because it's like exercising, it's like riding a bike. The more you do it, um the more you find your legs to it, and the more you kind of find your personality in how you want to do it. And so I kind of kept in mind, okay, if I'm going to be this, for lack of a better word, personality on YouTube, you got to kind of think back into what you listen to. Like I mentioned before, listening to a lot of American media, like Paul Harvey, or yeah, like American Top 40 and stuff like that, and really paying attention to a lot of those personalities. What was it that got you hooked on listening to them? And I knew how to communicate, but a lot of it is how to. how to modulate your voice, how to emphasize certain words. And but the best thing that I kind of realized is, you know what? Um, to have fun with it. That's the big key component
Amen.
to doing any of this
Yes.
for any YouTuber out there, right? That wants to do this. And I've listened to a lot of people that are just starting out and stuff like that. And kudos to you guys out there that are starting out. The thing is, have fun with it. You got to have fun with it. If you don't have fun with whatever it is that you're talking about, it could be games, it could be, I don't know, like conspiracy theories, or just talking about comic books or movies or anything like that. It's got to be something that you've always had fun with. And if you're not having fun with it, people are going to tune you out. It's like, oh, this guy sounds kind of boring. I'm just going to, proverbially change the channel, so to speak. And but you got to have fun with it. Because remember, this is why you get into it. And to me, life is too short to be complaining about a lot of stuff that's going on out there. And and while I was progressing with doing especially the live shows, because the first few, um I was really nervous. I thought, okay, when you're doing your standalone videos, obviously nobody's you're not live, right? Nobody's tuning into you live, right? This is all like basically recorded, and you can essentially, say what you want. Your personality will kind of come through then. But when you're live, yeah, you're nervous as heck, but you have to remember you're supposed to be like, a showman. You're the ringleader, or maybe that's the wrong word to use, but you're the grand master in your own circus, basically. You're the presenter. You're you're the MC, the announcer on on your show, basically. And if you're going to grab an audience, just have fun with it. That's all you got to do.
So
So
you touched on a lot of to me, a lot of the key principles, right? Because you talked about, one is the repetition, right? Mr. Beast has got that rule: the first 100, just do 100, get better each time. Those kinds of things. You got to put in the reps. You got to put in the reps, and then of course having fun. Like, what's the point of doing it? Did you want another job? Was that the whole point of you doing this? You really wanted another job, so don't do something that's going to make yourself miserable. Whether that be editing and doing videos, or doing live,
yeah.
forcing yourself into live stream, if you're not that kind of person, that kind of thing. What was it, or did you have someone that helped you with the right kind of self-awareness to make you feel, one, more comfortable and find improvement?
Well, that was the thing, because I had toyed with it for a couple of years before I actually took my channel seriously, right? Like beforehand, when shortly in 2009, when we moved from New Brunswick to here in Alberta, um you know I signed up for YouTube. Got an account with YouTube, and I'd posted a couple of videos, right? Just little things here and there, right? And there were some DVDs that I was working on for Japanese series that I was translating, getting translated and stuff like that. And because again, as you can probably notice, there's a few Transformers in the background and stuff like that. So there were a few little things here and there, and I really didn't think much of it, right? And I just posted it and just kind of left it. And my account was kind of sitting there for like about 11, 12 years, and I didn't take it seriously. But during that time, like 2 years before I took my channel seriously, thinking about what am I going to talk about, should it be like political kind of stuff like Louder with Crowder or something like that, because I try to be a funny guy, but again, like I said before, I'm not really a political guy. And so, my wife was kind of encouraging me, well, yeah, you should just talk about this, talk about that, and kind of like, give me that little nudge, until my daughter actually came up with my name. Um, so what you want to do, and I know a lot of people hate doing this, is listen to yourself, how you sound, um, when you're doing a video. And whether you're doing a live stream or you're just putting like a standalone video, talking about whatever, and listen to yourself. That's and I hate doing it because I kind of hate I kind of hate the way I sound a little bit, but you get used to it. And you start to hear, it's like, you know what, I should be saying things this way instead of that way. Your personality and your tone end up evolving. And when you truly realize that, yeah, you know what, I should be having fun with this, uh, then little ideas start popping in your head. Oh, what can I do to make this more fun for people to tune into? And I think that's what really happened around the beginning of last year. Um, I I thought, okay, looking at a lot of other channels, they have, some people on and stuff like that. And I was really nervous to do this, um, because I didn't know how it was gonna turn out. And so I've invited a bunch of people, and to kind of have a panel, so to speak, and just talking about stuff. And it kind of went well. And having other people on with you, I feel, helps you develop as a essentially as an entertainer, right? It helps you uh, of I hate to use the word, but it helps you evolve into something better than what you currently might be.
I think it
And
takes some of the I
yeah,
think it takes some of the pressure off of you as an individual, and now you're a group or a show, and it's easier to
yeah,
sometimes fine tune some details around that, as far as maybe the way you'll flow between stories or around a topic, or how you'll learn to bounce off one another. So unless you have like a real rusty wrench in there, kind of messing things up for everybody, it usually is pretty easy to kind of
mm,
do that. Like I said before, that Mr. Beast principle of like keep leveling up and getting just a little bit better each time, because you just get naturally
yeah,
better at each other, and you can always have conversation. And it's like, if I don't know something, Mike will know something, or so and so can jump in, or Loki can just be funny, or whatever it may be. You have a lot more uh,
yeah.
uh, options, if you will, to make it fun, and to fill the gaps.
Yeah, exactly. Because at least that way you can find out what each other's strengths are, and you play off on that, right? If there's something that I don't know but somebody else does, then that can be a great thing too, because a lot of people that tune into uh YouTube shows, I think a lot of people naturally think that, oh, this person must know about everything, right? That's going on in, a particular subject, so to speak, right? And no, I mean, I will fully admit there's a lot of things I still don't know. And, and and I've been, how should I put it, caught on camera, saying that, oh, I didn't know that, right? So I I feel that I like the audience to know that, hey, I don't know everything. Here's a little bit of information that I learned from somebody else that is probably more knowledgeable in a subject than I am. And yeah, and then that way, you keep that sense of learning, not just for myself, but for probably a lot of other people out there.
Agreed. Agreed.
So,
What is what
yeah,
is it? What, because
yeah.
you were able to kind of get memberships first, and then now you've reached 1,000, and obviously you got watch hours, and also their nonsense that kind of plays into it. What was the process for you to like, oh crap, I can have members? That's because for me that was such a weird dynamic that I was like, I don't even know how to set this up. I had such imposter syndrome. I still do have imposter syndrome. I still don't feel like I can give you enough value for any of it. I don't feel like I'm worthy of your. I just don't.
Right.
To me, it's one of the hardest things in the grand scheme of all. Getting a view or just doing a show for me is purely, like you said, the entertainment, the radio slot, but the whole members, that stuff is that part has been
Yeah.
hard for me. What was it like for you?
Mm. Um, Pretty similar, believe it or not. It's like really, really similar. Because here's the weird thing, right? Because when I found out that I could actually have members, I kind of found out accidentally because um at that time I was already over 500, and you needed like 300 or 3,000 like watch hours or something like that. And I kind of found out accidentally through any derivative Jill, and where she she posted something, my monetization stream, and I looked at it and I'm like, but you only got like 500 people, like what did I miss? Because you're naturally thinking that, oh, I need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours. And I'm like, what just happened? So I messaged her, and it's like, oh yeah, you can be like partially monetized like at 500 and 3,000 hours. And I'm like, oh, so I looked and I could. And then with that, obviously you start your membership. But then all of a sudden I had to think, it's like, uh, you know, what what am I offering a membership for? What do I have
It
to
was my world.
offer?
I didn't know what to do. I was
Because
like,
to
oh
me,
man.
um, and like you, yeah, it's like this this imposter syndrome. Um, you think, okay, well, because I'm used to like being in a shop here. As a graphic designer, you're thinking, okay, you make a product and then you sell product, right? And I'm thinking tangible objects kind of thing. Somebody comes in, they want a logo designed or something like that. Okay, I'll design a logo. Okay, here it is, and you get paid, right? And I'm thinking, what do I have to offer these people? I can't, you know, give something, right? Because I'm still thinking like tangible objects and stuff like that. So I thought, okay, well, let's take a look at some other channels that have been successful at this, right?
It's
Let's
exactly
take a
what I
look
did.
at,
I went to everyone else's channels and
yeah,
just started. I don't say
yes,
I copied, but I made all these notes of what different people did, how much they charge, different tiers, all these different. Like, okay, let me build a structure of even how to do this. And I was like, okay, sorry to interrupt, but keep going. I felt the same way. Felt the same way,
no, no,
brother.
no, no, it's all good, yeah. And I thought, okay. Well, so I looked at what was it, at Loki's channel, at Doomcock's channel, at Clobber Times, like all these other channels, right? And of course, obviously they all have memberships and all that kind of stuff. And um, yeah, like you, I'm taking little notes down. Okay, it's like, okay, basic membership. All right, so they're charging this much, they're charging that much, and they're offering this and this and this. It's like, okay, so you kind of build a little bit of a structure around, right? And so I thought, oh well, hey, um I do actually have something to offer besides shows and personality. Like early on I designed a t-shirt. I thought, well, okay, if I'm going to do this, I might as well have a t-shirt design of some sort. So I already had a t-shirt designed. So for my highest tier, I put get a t-shirt, like one of the perks, get a t-shirt or a poster, because that's what I've done, like some of the quintessons that I helped design for X Transbots and stuff like that, some of the box art that I've done for them. It's like, oh well, I can make that a poster and I can send it off to a viewer or something like that, right? And just as a thank you or whatever, right? And so it was pretty surreal, kind of like trying to rack your brain. What is it that I have to offer?
Mm.
Because I'm thinking, people paying you money for talking It's like it's really weird, and even now it's still really weird, that people are listening, are willing to pay you to talk, but I just have to remember it's what you're talking about that people probably aren't hearing anywhere else, or it's probably news that they're not hearing anywhere else, or just because they appreciate you talking to you in a manner like they're not talking down to you, or they're not talking to you, like wagging your finger. Oh, you should listen to me because I am the high authority on what I'm talking about, or anything like that. You have to talk with your audience, not just to your audience. You have to draw them in, and you have to make them feel like they're part of the conversation, right? Which is what I enjoy, because I enjoy having dialogue with people. I enjoy having people, just exchanging thoughts, which is a lost art, it seems like, especially in this day and age and stuff like that. And yeah, I want people to be a part of that. And it's nice to know that people, kind of, oh, it sounds so weird saying it, but are willing to pay you just just to be a part of that. It's even now it's really weird to say that.
I can't tell you how many times they've talked me out of like turning it off or quitting it just because I felt like I wasn't giving them value, or I was going through a challenging schedule time or
Yeah.
whatever, or I was doing member streams, but it wouldn't line up with their time. So I'm like, I don't really have like maybe one person who can come on or something. So it's just, you just constantly, again, it's imposter syndrome. It's part of this process of getting used to this YouTube as a platform, as a metric to use, matrix to use to
Mm,
communicate with people. It's just fascinating. So I'm glad we are able to chance to talk about it. I don't think I've really talked a little bit about that much, and I thought that was interesting because I know you've gone through that and that kind of thing. You mentioned
yeah.
Loki's show, and obviously Wednesday YouTube talk has kind of been fantastic for so many people and that kind of thing. What are some of the other things that you do
Right.
and have done to get some advice, to lean on people, to help nudge you to level up and continue to grow?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. Because with me, I like listening to advice, not just any advice, but I'd rather listen to a lot of advice for people that have been there, right? That
Mm.
were on the grow, so to speak, and to listen to what tips they have, or what mistakes they've made, right? Because it's a very invaluable source of information. I find, right, and I find myself as I'm getting older, and and doing my channel, um, just listening to a lot of people. It's like, well, I did this and I shouldn't have done that, or this is what you should do, and I'll test it out to see if it works for me,
Mm.
and generally it does. But I think the most I do listen to is Loki. Um, and I've pretty much listened consistently to a lot of his YouTube advice. I mean, he'll talk about, like say, YouTube drama, or looking at analytics, or, or I don't know, just lots. There's so many things, over like tons of Wednesdays that he's done, that I don't know. I just find extremely invaluable just listening to it. Um,
He seems like he
like
has his finger. He seems like it seems like he has his finger on the pulse of what the trials and tribulations are going to be for everyone,
yeah,
even
yeah,
though you may be talking to people who are all a complete broad range of places. So you may be talking to someone who doesn't have a channel, wants to have a channel, someone who may have just started and they're in a few hundred, someone who's like that 1,000 to 2,000 or so, and then you have people that are bigger than him that are listening
Yeah.
too. And it seems like, but he has a good idea of you're listening to analytics too much, or you're getting yourself caught up in too much drama, or you're not making this fun
Yeah.
anymore. And he just seems like he
Mm.
always has like his finger on the pulse of the right things to say to us, and it seems that they're universal truths no matter where we are in that journey, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think he should be like way bigger than he is now, because he does have that constant pulse, that insight on a lot of things, right? And and plus on top of that's the one thing that really impressed me, that in growing this channel and stuff like that, taking the time to talk to people when they're not on YouTube, when you're actually making these connections on social media, like on Facebook, like on X and stuff like that, or Gilded or Discord or something like that, and that was the one big thing that really, really impressed me, was that when I was starting out, I think it was like when I hit my 25th live show. Um, I had invited a bunch of people kind of for a celebration kind of thing. Like, I made it to 25, live shows already. And I asked some of these people that I was listening to on the YouTubes, and Loki was one of them. And he was like, you know, and I thought, oh, these bigger guys, they're probably not gonna, you know, talk back or anything like that. Like they're too big for me, so to speak, right? Because when you're thinking like anybody over 1,000, they probably don't have the time of day for you or anything like that. And when he responded, along with a few other people, um, that really put a notch in my belt, because for somebody that probably really doesn't know you, to say, yeah, man, I'll come on and celebrate this with you, that made a huge difference on top of that as well, right? And it kind of told me that, what, a lot of these people that are, huge names, humongous names, big names, um there are a lot of people out there that actually do care about the little guy. And I like that, right? Because I'm like one of those people that I don't want to forget. How should I put it? I don't want to forget the friends I made along the way, that might not be at 500, or that might not be at 1,000 or anything like that, right? Because I'm the type of person that would like to prop up people, bring them up to, wherever I'm at, right? And for people like that, like say Gary Ambrosia or Loki, or Jerry over at Pop Culture Minefield or anything like that, to join me uh in a simple 25th anniversary live stream, it spoke volumes to me, you know, because here are people that get it, that that know that um that people like me at the time, those small people down there, um to take the time to join you, um it it speaks a lot, that yeah, hey, we know you're starting out, and
Mhm.
I guess maybe for some odd reason they see a potential in you, and they want to bring you up. And I think that kind of carries on with me, with the people that I've had on my shows as well, because yeah, there might be one or two of them that might be, like maybe double in subscribers than me, or there might be some that may be below me or anything like that. And I want to try to prop up as many people. And that also on top of that was a great lesson to learn, if you can kind of call it a lesson,
You
that
just
no
don't
matter
want
how
to.
big you are, don't forget the people.
Yeah, you just don't want to kind of forget where you came from. You don't want to forget. And I
Yeah,
think the hard part is too, and for me, it's been a real struggle, is because you're juggling the real life part and the day job part or whatever, and then the busier
yeah,
part, especially if you start filling in gaps and you enjoy doing this, you start filling in with shows, appointments, whatever. And I'm sure there's people
mm,
that uh, I have, for lack of a better term, neglected, or not stayed in touch with
mm,
to the level that they felt like I should have, or things like that. And it's part of a process. But in theory, I think it's
mm.
also just again, it goes back to what you said earlier. You got to have fun doing this and enjoy the people
Yep.
along the way that you can meet and have fun with. And there's people that you can learn from. And just the worst thing that happens if you had asked someone like that and they said no, like, okay, does that
Yeah.
matter? I mean, it's usually, I mean, I would say like 99.8% of the time, it's never a personal thing. It's most of the time it's people are busy or they
No.
just, whatever. They got some, yeah. So I would definitely encourage people always ask, right? Just, it doesn't hurt to ask somebody. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
No, exactly. Because I'm like one of those believers that hey, sometimes crazy works. And hey, you never know what might happen if you just ask. Yeah, they might say no, and it's like, okay, fine, whatever. um you know Not a problem. I'll probably move on to somebody else, or I'll just make it work with maybe just me or something like that. But if you don't try, and that's the big important thing, if you don't try, you never know what might happen, right? You never know. And that was the other thing that makes this, and going back to fun, that's the other important thing, because starting this, you end up, well, first of all, it ends up opening quite a few doors that it normally never would. And second of all, the people that you meet along the way, um it's it just opens up opportunities. It's really weird. Like, it's really, really weird how everything sort of kind of happened. Meeting, say, I don't know, just pulling your name out of my hat, like Gary Ambrosia, right? There was some talk about maybe doing some stuff together, or like, as I'm pulling stuff off my desk here, because my desk is full. Or like, for example, Raymond Feliciano over at King Dolphin TV. I mean, he's got 3 books out that he's done, 3 sci-fi novels, and he's finished them all. And and if it was because of that he wants me to draw a prequel comic for him. And I'd been toying around, like, wanting to do a comic, getting back into drawing again and stuff like that. um so that's a little project that's going to be in the works. And if it wasn't for meeting stuff like Mike over at Clobberin Times, I wouldn't have met other people, like, say, for example, Hungry Boy, who, as some people might know, used to work at Marvel and DC. For him to end up taking the time to train me up, right? If you don't take the chance and put yourself out there, yes, it's very scary at times, to just put you out there, because in your head you're thinking, who's going to listen to me? Do I have really anything to say or anything like that? um if you're passionate about what you want to talk about, then yeah, you will find that there are other people out there that will listen wholeheartedly, will listen, and they'll follow you, and they'll listen to you, and they'll interact with you and stuff like that. And it can open up a lot of doors that you never thought were possible otherwise. And that's what makes it fun.
Agreed. Agreed. So we talked a lot about that. Was it fun to get to 1,000? Was it a fun journey, that kind of thing? But what happens next, right? What happens next? What's the road look like ahead? Do you plan a lot? You have goals? Are you, kind of, how do you
Hmm,
pave your path, like looking at it going forward?
right. Oh, that's a good question, because 2 weeks ago Tuesday, okay, I just went on, doing my show, Titillating Tuesdays, and I knew I was pretty close. I was around 950. and just advertise the show, put in the tags and all that kind of jazz and blah blah blah. And I go live at 1 o'clock my time, Mountain Time, and there was a guy in the chat. I think it was like Sci-Fi Sithan, and I tend to like want to remember all these names because I'm very appreciative of all these people. And he just said, "Oh, congratulations, I'm making it." And you can look at my reaction live on video, and I'm like, "What?" And I actually had to go to my YouTube channel. What happened? Like it was just there, and I was just totally dumbfounded. So congrats on reaching over 1,000 subscribers. Have I reached 1,000 subscribers? What? You're kidding me. Wait a minute. I'm gonna have to hold on a second here. I have to check something. I can't be. I can't be. I swear to God, I cannot be over. Okay, hold on. Holy crack, Spackle! I'm at 1,009. Oh, oh my God! Are you serious? Jeez, 1K, Mike! Holy crap, dude! And
congrats on the 1,000. I just checked that too. I was like, oh snap!
what the frig? Like, how the hell? I just 1,009.
No.
What the fudge? How in the world did I hit like that? How? I don't get this. I don't get this. Like I was around like 951, and then, well, I am shocked.
Dude, I noticed. I should have said something. I noticed that earlier. I was like, yeah, I'm proud of him. And I was like, you didn't even know?
No, I didn't even know.
That's awesome. Well, it's always good to have a live surprise, live reaction.
Because you're totally 100% dumbfounded. And and I've done this on Facebook with certain groups that I'm on, but I love giving back stuff to the community. And so now that I'm at 1,000 or about 1,030 right now, going forward, oh boy, that's a good question. I just want to make the shows that I do more fun. I want people to laugh. Laughter, as they say, laughter is the best medicine, right? And on top of that, you helped me with some very sage advice. What was it, a little over a year ago, I believe it was, when you told me, I forget if it was in person or on one of your shows. I'm trying to remember, but you told me, cover the news that isn't talked about. I don't know if you remember that, but you said cover the news that nobody else talks about. And because we know that there are channels that are in there, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, right? And they're all always talking about the same thing generally, right? It's either Star Wars or it's Star Trek. Those are probably the big two right there. But there's a lot of that's what I discovered, and I think that's what I might be probably still doing. Now that I'm past 1,000, is just kind of keeping that formula because it seems to work. That there's a lot of small news out there that a lot of people, I found so far, that a lot of people aren't talking about. And if anything, it's always those small little things that people just pass by that end up in the end snowballing and become bigger, right? And if we don't touch up on those small things that people just miss by the wayside, then we got a bigger problem to deal with. And I feel like if we don't nip it in the bud now, right? Don't take it too seriously. And that's the other thing, is that that people tend to freak out, like, oh my God, they're doing this to to that and panicking and all that kind of stuff. Oh, I can't believe Paramount is doing this to Star Trek now, or anything like that. It's like, like, come on, okay? Instead of ranting and raving over it, we need to point our finger at these people and laugh at them. Bring back shame, basically, right?
That's hashtag bring back shame. I agree.
Exactly. But we need to make fun of these stupid decisions.
Yeah, mockery's the
these
best.
people are making. Exactly. Right. And laughter is the best medicine. Right. And if you can mock some of the stuff that these dumb people are doing in comic books and in movies and TV shows and gaming now,
no end in sight.
You know what?
No end in sight.
Exactly. Exactly. The material is ongoing like that. Right. It's like an endless source of material. But now that I'm over 2000, to get back to the question, because I'm sorry, I'm a storyteller, I can't help it. I want to do maybe a few other segments, probably some new segments. I want to try to do comic book reads. I want to get a few people together, and maybe it'll be a Saturday thing or something like that, because I kind of remember, when you're a kid sitting in front of the TV, watching cartoons, right? It was something that, we did back in the day with a big bowl of cereal. So I'm thinking about doing a, just getting a few people together and doing like a comic book reads kind of thing. And I want to start with Marvel's First Family, the Fantastic Four. I want to go through the Jack Kirby issues and stuff like that. I would like to get a few people together. And again, it's about performance, right? Some good voices together. Could be anybody. If you want to join in, because I know we talked about this a few times about
we've never. So first off, to our defense, part of the problem is they delay their books. So they'll put out something that they're going to do. It's so ridiculously bad on its face. Then we'll talk about, it would be great to parody read this aloud for everyone to know how bad this is out loud. And then it will get delayed or it gets canceled, doesn't go anywhere. So I think that's happened more than once. But let me put a little meat on the bone of what you were talking about. Then I'll let you ask your question before we wrap up. And that was, I think, 'cause I've said this to more than one person, is especially because people can review a show or a TV series and they feel like, well, yeah, Nerdrotic said this and Critical Drinker. So all these people did this, and it's like you feel like your voice is never heard, or you feel invaluable to that contribution to the bigger scheme of things. And a lot of times my advice is, well, find a story that they're not talking about. They all talk about, like you said, there tends to be similar takes and similar things. Like, I didn't even do a full standing video on the Silver Surfer thing because it was done ad nauseum. I made a reference to it on another video, and there's all these comments about it in my chat, in my comment section. And I'm like, I don't know what to say, because like you said, it's so absurd to act. All these people who, if you want to talk about shame the John Campias and Grace Randolphs for acting like it's normal to add a female Silver Surfer that has existed in like a handful of panels in an X universe book. It's not even like it's a fever dream of Franklin Richards. It's this fake universe. I mean, it's beyond gaslighting. It's insane. So pick stories that are off the cuff. Don't go down the same way everyone's doing. Go find a show that's just been greenlit, or find some weird obscure version of something, or talk about, like, before it was news. I don't think really has been any mainstream videos talking about like Action Comics sold for like $6 million. I mean, there's not really been a lot of people doing videos on the fact that this thing. Yeah, because I told my wife, like, did you see this? I'm like, it was an 8.5. How can a book that old be an 8.5? Who got this thing graded, and how? I mean, oh my goodness gracious me. So I think, and again, my advice stands. I gave it to you. I know. Give it to other people as well. Have fun and find some rando story. They greenlit this story or that story or whatever. Yeah, just throw those into the mix. Sure, you could talk about Silver Surfer for 10 minutes on your live show, but then just talk about this other crap. I don't know. So, listen, folks, all the links are in the description. Yeah, exactly. Make sure you're connected. Get this guy well over the 1,030. Let's get him to 15. Let's keep this moving. And tune into those shows. There's Tuesday shows. That's my favorite show, is the Tuesday show. But I know there's Friday, right? It's a Friday.
Yep, Friday. Frantic Fridays.
That's Friday, Tuesday and Friday.
Yep.
Tune in, get yourself connected, find out what's going on, that kind of thing. But so as we wrap up, though, Mike, I let everybody this year. This had come up as sort of a criticism, and I'm like, no, I'm going to own it, and just like the guests can ask me questions. So let's go to question time with Pops and let you guys start asking me some questions. Let me ease back and get a little more comfortable. Gary at Pop Culture Minefield took advantage of this. Our show went on for about 30 extra minutes. Is Gary's going to ask me more questions? Oh, yeah.
Let's see if I can
I
top
love
that.
Gary.
No, I'm kidding.
And if you don't have questions, it's totally cool,
He's
man.
so
it's
good.
Totally cool.
Well, here's a good question. What made you want to start?
So during the pandemic, things went sideways, as you were discussing, political and news stuff, right? I've been doing a show. It's called News Talk with a close friend of mine. That is, we were running it. I still own a website. It's infectious disease. And we were going through demonetization for anything that involved the COOF that predated the COOF. They went retroactively and they would demonetize videos that were from like 2015 and whatever, right? So we're going through all this stuff. I angered most of the people in my church communities because at the point, because I'm from a scientific background, so is he, said, listen, it may be in benefit to not have services right now where this thing could are getting the olds and whatever. And they got angry at us. I mean, it seemed like we were just ticking off everyone around us. It was just everything that I was working on. Radio, they canceled all the movie screening. There were no movies, if you remember. They started canceling all the movies, all the screening. So it's like everything that I had been doing at that point. Radio, website work, even some sort of podcast, all the stuff that I've been doing, all the stuff I did for other people, because they weren't doing shows. They were going to cancel their shows. I was like, I just hit a wall. And from like 2019 through 21, if you look at my analytics, you'll see these little blips of me dabbling with Pops. And it was me dabbling with a bunch of different things. I had time to do this, time to do that. I'll do some videos. Just always talk myself out of doing a whole lot more because I didn't like editing so much. It seemed like it was just a horrible time investment. And I was doing it wrong. No one said, hey, let's go get a USB microphone, a USB camera, hide behind an avatar. No one gave me the right kind of advice to just start small and then figure out how to go from there. So I got to a point where I talked to the wife. I just kind of was unhappy doing other things and I'm just going to start doing this Pops thing. And everybody loves the Pops content. I've had a long time of doing movie reviews and so I've always had positive response from people. They come and go in waves for sure. And it was pretty early on. I just felt like little by little I was getting to know people and how the dynamics of a community / friendship fellowship stuff work. Because I didn't land backwards into Nerdrotics and Dude Talks and all that. I landed into smaller subgroups. And as I started to learn how to figure out how to do my own videos and then live stream, whatever, I was finding that I would be relatively welcomed. I didn't expect that exactly. I come from a background where everybody's treated as competition. So I didn't know how that would go. And then once you fast forward to early in 2022, in March 22, I was going to do the Halo show. And once I did the Halo thing, which led into Talk Hard, meeting Loki and Ironcaster, it cemented something that I knew I was enjoying doing. I mean, it was by far a thing. I was dabbling with other show contests, panels. I was learning the hard way. I think you were on one of the one of the Comic-Con panels where I had like 10 people. I mean, it was so insane. It got ahead of I got way out over my skis with that one. There's tons of people who didn't get a chance to talk. There's tons of us who but you know what? You have to live and learn sometimes. You have to and hopefully everyone is forgiving. Like Pops didn't mean to like not let me talk. So it was just this process of me going through it and me always clinging to things like you said earlier. What's fun? Am I being myself? I'm not going to sell my soul. I'm not. And I was never doing that before, but it was costing me more before. Like before, it was like, oh, you won't be invited to that screening again, or you won't get those credit. And I didn't really run into that too much because I never missed words. So I don't think anyone at Disney thought if I was going to bash a movie, it was because I hated Disney. It was like, no, he just hated that freaking movie. I almost walked out of Bears, by the way. So they gave me I have 5 children. They gave us a massive press pass package for us to go see this docudrama. They call it a documentary. It's not a documentary. It's just called Bears. It was on a Saturday. It was one of these mammoth theaters, like 500. It was a huge auditorium. So all these kids are in there, whatever. I am literally like, I want to leave. It was so awful. My wife is going, where are you going? I'm going to get something else to eat. It's the only way I'm going to get through this. So I gave it like a 1.5 stars. And I said on the radio, when I did review on the radio, I said, and that is generous. I'm generously giving this 1.5 stars.
Wow.
This is so unwatchable. And they didn't kick me out. They didn't kick me out of the club. So I had a pretty good reputation. Now, the other nerds hated that. Like the guy that writes for the newspaper, the guy that had the TV show and all that. So I was already alienated in the club. My son made it worse because he was the best. He's like you. You take him to a show and you're sitting there and you're talking amongst yourselves, but everyone around you can hear you, right? So he would be like you going, this freaking sucks. I'm like, you're the +1. You got to behave. Whereas, you know what I mean? Or like, that guy actually liked Lucy. I'm like, I know. Just let him like things. Just let him, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
You just, so when I've done Pops, as you know, I just do me. This is it. I want to have fun too. I enjoy the Watch Your Story thing. I think that and Talk Hard are my favorites because that's just me. That's me having a conversation with you, which is what I enjoy the most doing. I wish I could do this. This would be my full-time job. I should have answered this better recently. Someone asked me about my full-time job. It would be I could do this type of show every single day, and I could do like a Talk Hard show every single day. And those are the 2 or 3 hours a day that I actually work, and then research and develop and fun. But that would be the dream because I enjoy this. I enjoy, let's talk about what you went through, and maybe that'll be beneficial to someone else. And that's by far why I did it and why I'm still doing it. So, all right. Any other questions you want to sneak in under the wire?
That's the other thing about that.
No, go ahead.
More
go ahead first.
But that was the other thing too, because I want to make this as also a supplemental income eventually, right? And now that I've hit 1,000, going beyond that, because I'm getting older. Let's face it. I want to. It feels like you're built for this, right? And you want to make this your main income, basically, right? And you know what? And finding like what you just said, especially about bears. Here's the thing. You also don't have to agree with a lot of what the major YouTubers out there are saying, right? If you like, here's what I like to tell people. If you like it, you win. Right? You don't have to agree with Nerdronic. You don't have to agree with Doomcock. You don't have to agree with Critical Drinker. You don't have to agree with a lot of people. If there's something that you like out there, right, you win because you get the entertainment value out of it.
So listen, you weren't. It was not a personal thing, which I think you know me enough to know it's not a personal thing to not have you as part of the Transformers Talk Hard recently because I had already kind of had that RSVP for Mike.
I know.
But I said in that show, I don't personally enjoy. I don't personally enjoy. I personally do not enjoy watching this movie, and I explained why I didn't enjoy watching this movie. That's different from it's a good movie or not. And I think when YouTube gives you the opportunity to talk that through. Right. And I can say, look, Loki likes Godzilla X Kong Empire thing. I find it mindless, plotless. It's just I'm like just blah on it. Like I don't even know if I'd watch it again. Right. It's like it's okay. Like
right.
I think YouTube lets you kind of have that kind of conversation. Again, be yourself, be authentic, be yourself. Don't try to
exactly.
I think water it down because Critical Drinker disagree with you. Critical Drinker had awful positive words to say about Prey, that Predator Hulu movie, and I to this day put that on my short list of questions to ask him. Like, so I really need to discuss this for you on why on earth. What is it about the story? What is the story arc that you saw that people that are praising and loving Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and I'm like, I'd love to sit down with you and really kind of get into what are the story arcs and what is the, which I think is the fun part of being a nerd. We've lost that, right? Is that what we grew up? We grew up on that part of being the fun part of being a nerd.
Exactly. Like I thought Frozen Empire was okay. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad, right? And took the family to see it, and I thought it's an okay movie. and that's about it, right? I was on set a little bit for when they were shooting Prey in here in Alberta, right? And I knew there was going to have that little touch of,
She's a tiny woman, is
I
she
am
not?
I
She's a
know
tiny woman. She is a little 120 pounds wet, man. I mean, she is a tiny,
exactly.
tiny girl. I was like, what on earth
And
are
I
you doing?
and I remember in my early days of YouTube, because Doomcock had his email in there, and I thought, okay, I'm going to send him an email, and I don't know if he saw it or but I know I didn't reply back and whatever, and I'm like, this movie, this is what's going on set, because they were doing casting calls and stuff like that, and for extras and stuff like that in Calgary, and and so I went, did a little bit of work on set, just tooling and stuff like that, a little bit of things here and there, and and looking around at some of the action, it's like, this little girl, are you kidding me? Like, oh my god, are you kidding me? So but that's the important thing, right? We as an audience, okay, everybody that's listening to this, everybody that's in the chat, everybody that's going to leave comments and stuff like that, we're all individuals, all of us, okay? We all have our own brain, and we shouldn't fall into this whole NPC mentality just because somebody that has, X amount of subscribers that are way up, says that you should or shouldn't like this film. Make up your own minds. Like I said before, if you like it, you win, right? And just because somebody else, in whatever lands they happen to live in, does or doesn't like it, doesn't mean you have to. It doesn't.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
Just be an individual. Make up your own mind, right? It's as simple as that. I like Highlander 2. I know a lot of people don't like.
No, so the links are in the description to make sure you're subbed, and you can tell Mike how wrong he is about Highlander 2. And then when he sees Frozen Empire and he has time to digest and dissect it, he'll realize how bad Frozen Empire 2 is. There's no story arcs in that either. But no, seriously,
not really.
It is fun. It is great to be able to have someone like him on we can have a laugh. We can actually hang out and care about each other when it's all said and done, folks. And it's a blast. And hopefully you found some encouragement in our conversation that can help you. And if nothing else, we hopefully made you smile at least once. And man, I'm so proud of you, what you've done, what you've been able to do. It's been great to know you, get to know you.
Thanks, man.
Wish we had a better alignment with opportunities to spend more time together. But you know what? It's okay. And we'll just keep on plugging.
We'll make it happen, man.
Yeah, we'll just keep on plugging.
Exactly.
Folks, listen, thanks for watching, hanging out with us. Enjoy the rest of your day and weekend. Until next time, take care, everybody. I am Pops.